Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween!
We are the Book Bar here on our Halloween special. I'm Christy.
I'm Sarah.
And this is Aileen.
And
Emma.
And we are going to be talking with the Laceras and their awesome book, Zombies Don't Eat Veggies. So let's show you their little clip.
Zombies don't eat veggies. Zombies don't eat veggies. Zombies don't eat veggies. Zombies don't eat veggies.
We've got that song in our head
Oh my
all
gosh.
day.
Hello, welcome.
Hi!
Hello.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween!
Yes, that song has been in my head over and over and over.
Yes, we worked with, just to shout her out, we worked with the amazing Lynn to create that song, and she is a wonderful musician. So,
It
hi Annie, if you're out there.
Well, we thought that we would start off with letting our little ones, they love, love, love your book. They've read it how many times? About 1 million? And
Oh, 1 million,
song
okay.
as well.
Pretty good.
Yes, the song.
So we thought we would let them ask you a question. Emma, do you want to go first?
So how long have you been an author?
Good question.
Why don't you go ahead?
Well, it's a good question because I think, we're all authors really. Like if you've ever written anything, you are an author. So I feel like I've been an author my whole life, but in terms of trying to be an author professionally and actually publish, I think we've been at it for about, 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, let's say 7.
Let's say 7.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 7 years professionally.
So as old as you
So my second question is that what made you came up with zombies and veggies?
You'll take that one.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So there was a couple of things. Our son, Kai, was really into spooky things, and we found that we couldn't find any books that had any fun, spooky stuff in it that was age appropriate for him. And then veggies, he was also having a hard time kind of giving veggies a chance. So we thought maybe if we came up with a cool story with it in it, he might be more interested. And it could help. It helped.
It did help, yeah.
We've been hearing stories about kids who have been reading the book and trying new veggies, peppers and carrots. It's pretty cool.
How fun.
That's cool.
So it's a lesson and tasty.
You're
Emma, yeah, you
amazing.
are hired, Emma.
Yes.
You are hired. Okay, please, that's brilliant.
You want me to say it? Okay. She wants to know if she's going to get to see Mo again.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, we are working on our second book for Lee and Low. I think we can say the title. It's called,
I don't know.
I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I won't. Maybe I will. It's called The Wild Ones.
The
Yes.
wild one.
Yes, and it's a different story, different setting, not Mo, but maybe Mo can make an appearance in the future. But this next story that we're working on is pretty cool.
Yes.
And then her last question, because she's very focused on baby sisters lately, she wants to know if you could go ahead and write in a baby sister for Mo.
Oh my God, easily.
All right.
Go ahead.
No, I think that is a great idea. I can tell you, she wasn't a baby, but at
Or
one
a
point,
babysitter.
or a babysitter,
Babysitter.
also a great idea.
And like the zombies go on a date.
Wait, keep those ideas right here.
You girls, listen, we're gonna hire you. our pay is not the best at this point, but we will go up. Like we can go up in salary. Okay, so we'll talk about more about that because you're brilliant.
I can go free. I can go
Well,
free.
Never work for free.
Don't work for
Never
free.
work for free. No, so we had a character named Bella who was Mo's sister at one point. And she was like very zombie. Like she did not like vegetables at all. And she barely talked. So she was kind of like, and as we were working on the story, we realized sometimes when you're working on projects, you have to cut things. And she was overcomplicating the story. But we love Bella. And if we knew you were gonna ask that question, maybe we'll send you a picture of what she looked like.
Oh yeah, love that. Yeah.
Yeah, we can share it. But maybe Bella will come back.
Yeah, maybe we can incorporate her.
Yes.
Well,
Great
she is
question.
a zombie.
Yeah.
She can be risen
Absolutely.
again.
right?
Is it a picture of
She
me?
lives forever.
All right, ladies. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Say
You guys-
goodbye.
Bye. Happy
Bye.
Halloween.
Okay.
Happy
Go
Halloween.
play.
They were very, very excited
Very.
about that.
Woke up singing that song, ready to go.
Isn't the song? I mean, we love the song. It's just so fun.
It is. It's catchy.
Yeah.
Cute.
And for learning, we just felt like, how do you? Kids these days are so there's so many options. It's like the phone and the TV and the internet and everything. And how do you take a book and make it more immersive? So we were really trying to find more ways to create an experience that gets them engaged and excited about stories. So
Well,
hopefully.
I think you did. I taught it. I used it as a skill for my classroom, and the kids are still talking about it. And later, we're doing a little bit. I do have letters for you that they wrote to you, talking about your book, but also they have a question for you. So I think some of them are tuning in today, maybe, and they're all just on pins and needles.
It is Saturday and early in the morning, so I would be surprised if you
Yes.
the kids, but you never know, And we've definitely read it, in our reading time, and then today we made our fingers. So
Amazing.
Those are amazing.
we'll be snacking on our finger foods. And I love that you guys put recipes in the back of the book. Like, what was the reason for that? What made you think to put recipes?
Well, I think the recipes. How did that come about? Was that? I'm trying to think how to.
That was really a collaboration because
Yeah.
obviously food is very important to the story. We had sort of thought about what if we could add something like that, and then we thought it might be take too much space. But actually, when we had our very first call with our editor and our art director, Jessica Echeverria is our editor, and Ashley Halsey was the art director on the book, and we were just talking about ideas. And it would be great. I think we'd have a few more pages to include recipes, particularly the gazpacho. Gazpacho is a big part of the story. And then we're like, what if we added a few more? Because we remembered always loving at Halloween having like spooky food and just like really, like the zombie fingers. But how do you do that in like a fun, like healthy way?
Yeah.
So that she was super supportive, Jessica, and we were so glad to have those extra pages to do it.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. We and then the guacamole recipe is like our family guacamole recipe. So
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yes,
Yeah, I haven't made
guacamole is probably like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I haven't made that one, but I will be.
I'm gonna do the shot.
It's actually really good. It's really good. And for a long time, it was the only way we could get our son to eat vegetables. Like if you put, guacamole on celery sticks or peppers or whatever, he would just down it. Yeah.
Isn't it
So plus, avocados are great for you. So
there you go.
great.
Superfood.
We like to call it guacamole.
If you guys could, one of the kind of burning questions that all of the authors out there kind of start out with or always want to know is how did all of this come about, especially between the two of you, a husband and a wife team? How do you work together? What's your process?
So I think we have a unique set up in that we were coworkers before there was anything romantic involved. So we worked together at American Greetings, the greeting card company. We were actually working in their entertainment department. So I was doing a lot of visual development for animation and TV shows and coming up with new ideas for that kind of stuff on the art side. And Megan was working on the writing side. And so we would collaborate a lot on, pitch documents or scripts or storyboards. And then, Megan was leaving and I was like, wow, she's great. I need to find a way to keep hanging out with her. And so then that turned into me proposing. And thankfully Megan said yes. But we always knew from the beginning of our relationship that we wanted to continue collaborating and working together in some capacity. And so then when it became apparent, I think, shortly before our son was born, that we wanted to continue to work together, and particularly with picture books. And so then once we realized that that's what we wanted to focus on, it was actually Megan who came up with the idea. She came to me one day and was like, I think it would be fun to do a story with zombies. And I was like, yes, let's, you don't have to tell me anything else.
Don't tell me
I'll
twice.
get started. Yeah.
And so he's a kind of a big inspiration for you guys. I mean, he helps you. From I was looking on some of your stuff. What kind of a role does he play with you guys in regards to your?
Yeah. So normally he really even does like interviews with us, but Halloween morning, like I was telling you guys earlier, he's kind of chilling out, ready for this is his favorite holiday, so he is getting like ready for the day. But he really is a very big important part of our so our Studio Lacera is our company, and we consider him a part of it because from the time he was very early or very young, we would share ideas with him, and not just like, do you like this, but like, what do you like about this, or what do you feel like you wish there was a book about, and what do you hope the character would do? And we would actually like watch something and then kind of dissect it afterwards. And it's gotten more complex as he's gotten older. He's 8 now, but like, what do you think the motivation was for that? Why did that character do that? And he's very good at it. He's really, he's just probably because he has grown up with it, but also he has an intuitive sense of like what makes a story entertaining. Mm-hmm. So we really share a lot with him. And then with zombies, like part of it was like he was saying, George was saying, he loved this creepy stuff, and they're just, like when he was 4 years old, we're not going to let him watch.
I was like,
yeah, me too, but there just wasn't much that was like safe. And so we really like, we showed him character designs, we read stories with him, like got his feedback. And he's really a huge part of, he calls himself a co-author. So
does he write as well? Does he make his little stories?
Yes, he does write as well. He has a whole treasure trove of stories and drawings that we've been going through, and we might, I don't know, who knows, they might make their way into our stories soon. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Well, we actually really would love to do something like as a family, like all three of us. So I think at some point you'll see that.
That would be cool.
Yes.
I know my daughter does that too. If I'm reading a story that I've put together with her, she's like, I don't really know why they would do that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why wouldn't they?
The best audience.
She's like, you need to put in like another character here. Like, this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, okay.
It's awesome. I mean, think about it, that's gonna be with her whole life, She's gonna, because I really feel like stories are so, whether you become a writer or an illustrator, it's like telling a story or understanding story helps you understand people. So you're gonna grow up and understand people in the world, I think, in a really unique way. So
yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and my daughter will talk about our stories, and it's not, I mean, we write adult, but she will be like, oh, that mirror person in your story, and I'm like, yeah. So, and she doesn't even know it, she just hears me talking with her about it.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
Kai will sometimes, like, we'll be reading a book or watching a movie. What was the one time he surprised me? He was like, wow, that was a terrible second act.
What would you do different?
You know, they're brutally honest.
They are.
Which,
I'm sure you see that every day.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
what you need, though. I mean, wouldn't you rather hear it from your kid than like your agent, like another adult telling you like that was horrible would hurt a lot more than.
Well, and they're the audience, you know,
Yeah.
so you're getting it straight from the audience. So they're the ones that are really enjoying the books and picking the books and all about the cover. You have a great cover, by the way. And you designed that as well, Jorge?
Yes. I worked with Ashley, our art director, on it, but I had a clear idea. I kind of wanted it to be sort of inspired by like the kind of horror movie posters that I used to walk by a lot when I was a kid at the old video stores, and I kind of wanted it to have a little bit of that vibe, but obviously with like the funny veggie twists. So yeah.
It's closest to, there's an Evil Dead poster.
Yes,
it's a little
Evil
bit.
Dead.
Yes. Yes. You know, and I always remember like the hand shooting up, which I used for one of your little our promos on Twitter. I was like, oh, I have to have the hand out of the grave. I was like, it's a classic must for Halloween.
Yeah, my daughter, at the point when the mom's neck snaps, she's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh," and she's like, "Oh my gosh, his eyes popped out."
When you guys are getting so much attention with this book, you're up for several awards. We have them on. We looked them up, and there's just. You just keep scrolling and scrolling. There's so much praise for you guys. What does that feel like? And can you talk a little bit more about what that is going to look like for you, maybe?
I think it's really amazing. I think, you know, what's great about it, I think for me, the thing that I find the most gratifying is how it's been able to connect with kids and how kids have reacted positively to it and feel connected to the characters. And, you know, we did a school visit actually in Austin for a program called Reading Rock Stars last year. And the school was filled with, you know, the book is in English and Spanish. So that was really important to us from the beginning because our family, you know, is blended. I grew up in a Spanish speaking household in South Florida. And now, like, you know, we're trilingual because we're adding French because we're in Montreal. But we were bilingual, you know, household trying, you know, to incorporate those things. And we didn't see any of those books out there. And it's been so amazing to see, you know, particularly at this Reading Rock Stars, we were connecting with kids who had parents from Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, and their eyes just lit up when they were talking about themselves and seeing themselves in the book and a reflection of that. And so that's been like the most amazing experience is how kids have been able to embrace the book and come to it in such a cool and, you know, surprisingly, you know, way. It's been robust. You know, you write these things and you're in a room somewhere and you're illustrating or writing and you don't know how people are going to react to this when you put it out into the world. It's all been amazing. We're very humbled. I don't know. It's great.
I do have, and we'll just kind of read some throughout the day, but it does piggyback off of what you just said from one of my students. I'm not going to say their last name. I'm just going to say their first name, but they know who they are. So 7 writes, Dear Jorge and Megan Lacera, I really like your book. I like that it has a Latino family because my mom is half Mexican American. I like different things that my family does not like that much, but they try to like them for me. I like some veggies, but not all of them. What is something that makes you different in your families? Sincerely, 7. I know. 7. So cute.
So articulate. Such an amazing question.
I know, it's a great question. You want to go first?
Yeah. So
I'm gonna de-beard.
Yeah.
There he is. The author, the illustrator.
Revealed.
I'm still a witch. No. Yeah, so that was a bit like there's tapping into those feelings of being different were a big part of the story. And we both have our own, we should both answer this because we have both very different things. But for me, I have a wonderful family. I have a sister and 2 parents, and it's a very supportive, loving family. My sister and my parents are all extremely organized and pragmatic. And just very realistic. Let me put it that way. They're very realistic and very focused on the realistic aspects of life. And they're wonderful. I am not that way. I never have been. That has kind of, I'm glad for them because they've helped me be a little more realistic and pragmatic with my own life. But I'm creative. I'm imaginative. I can get lost in a book for hours or a movie or something. And that's a big part of who I am. And I always felt a little bit different from them because they, to me, are so similar themselves. And I'm just not, I'm the one out. It's not that they ever made me feel that way, but I felt that way. So I think that's a big part of how I'm different. Just my personality is different.
Yeah, I think I had we had a conversation, I think early on, and we realized that we had,
beard hair.
Have beard left over. We realized that we had a lot in common in that sense, because for me, the way that I felt different was that growing up in Miami, my parents, they love having big family get-togethers and big parties and loud music. And I love all that. And I love having my family together. But I was always more comfortable in my room with a book or playing video games or kind of chilling out. I'd be the one that would come downstairs and turn the radio down just a little bit so that I can, listen to myself. But, even though I felt different from my family, I always knew that they were there for me. And, my mom would always have a stack of papers in her purse to give to me if I was drawing and that we were out somewhere and she knew I was getting bored. So I knew that she always was supportive in that sense, even though she didn't really get like what I was drawing. And I don't think to this day she really likes any of my drawings. So she's always like, they're very ugly, George.
Chris loves you.
But it doesn't matter, it's like we wanted to let kids know that we come from different families, and that's okay as long as you are sort of true to yourself, respectful in the way that you express yourself to your parents. That goes a long way.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I love you, Mom and Dad. I as well. 2 parents. I have a sister who's a little bit more organized and not as dream world as me. Very more meticulous as well.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know where I fit in that because I feel like I have characteristics of both. It really depends on what's allowed in my life at the time. Because I am very organized and like even when we write together, I'm like, I need an outline.
And I'm like, woo!
Like, and I'm like, I need to know where we're going. Where are we going?
I just go.
And, but then there's some times that we will share one brain. And then, there is times that I can get caught up and have that creative side that I don't think my family has always understood. Because and for me, I think it came out in that I held several jobs. I remember my brother telling me one time, he said, so you just decide what you want to be and then you just do it. And I'm like, yeah, if I want to be a ballerina, I'm going to freaking be a ballerina. I'm going to figure out how to do it because out of college, I decided my first job out of college, I was a private investigator. It made absolutely no sense why I went that route. But I was, and it has, fun, right? Everything that I've done has a really awesome story. I went from private investigator to I worked in the inner city of Houston for a few years, and then I moved to Nashville to try and become a famous singer. And then I moved back and I met Christy because I worked at the YMCA and we managed the YMCA together. And then I managed a day spa and then I became a teacher and now I'm a mom. It's I just...
What do I want to be tomorrow?
I know. And that's the thing. I'm like, now I want to be a writer. And I feel like that I've told my daughter that just kind of really you can do whatever you want to do. Everything takes discipline and work, but yes. You can do what you want to do. There isn't limitations. And that's what I try and teach her is whatever you want to do, go for it. And I'll support you. But there are some gifts that you're given and there's characteristics to your personality, but you can work hard and be whatever you want to be. And I think that, my family's just are you never happy? And I'm like, no, I've loved everything I've done. I've just decided tomorrow I'm going to be this,
Princess.
Yeah, I'm going to be a princess.
Renaissance woman.
Absolutely.
Renaissance woman.
Which speaks to your book because, he's different from his family and he you can do whatever you want to do.
You can do. He can make his parents eat veggies by tricking them.
That's right. A little bit of trickery. I think that's a really important message for kids and for everyone, because especially, I think it's always probably a thing, but right now it feels very heated. I think there's a lot of pressure to conform to whoever your friends are, or the people around you, to think how they think, do what they do. And that's not, you're not going to live to your full potential if you're just doing what people around you are thinking you need to do. So I think finding the ways that you are different and accepting yourself is really important for everyone right now.
Yeah, and I agree. Teaching middle school, you couldn't be more right. Right when they go in, it's different from elementary. They're not kind of as coddled anymore. It's like, well, you go find your stuff, and whereas most of the teachers in elementary are walking them everywhere. But in middle school, they're on their own. So there's nervous. There's new people. You don't know them, and it's just middle school. But I do have another one from Giselle that speaks to you in that way as well. Which when I did read this one, 100 for her because it was beautiful. I really liked this book because it shows that you can be different and to express yourself. Children like me are too scared to express themselves. And I think this book will show to kids that it's okay to be different. One question is, why did you feel like writing this book? And what is the main thing you want to say to the readers? Sincerely, Giselle, which I think you've answered as well. So she just, reading these letters.
I mean,
what an awesome letter.
That's true, with Mo. I mean, like, especially to go against kind of what your parents are saying, I mean, like, to be like, I mean, it's hard to feel like, well, I like something differently, and your parents are like, absolutely not. Like, this is not what we do. And for, his parents to come around in the end, be like, how can we, I mean, like, just even like changing the names of like the foods, like, I'll make it sound like what you like to eat, but like, let's find a compromise here. And it's a good book for parents too, to be like, allow the individuality of your child to shine through, and don't make them what you want to make them. I mean, like, they've got their own personalities. I mean, obviously rear them in positive human direction, but like, allow their personalities to come out and support that.
I think as parents too, we try to bubble wrap them so much, like, don't make the same mistakes I did, but let them find their way. And kudos to you for finding that message in this book.
Yeah,
it has spoken, just seeing it in my students, but it has spoken to so many of them. So I thank you for that as a teacher, to be able to give that to them.
Thank you for that letter, Giselle, because that is I mean, it's really beautifully written, and I don't want to cry on here, but yes, it's like, I mean, you're right. Middle school, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember middle school. It's just, talk about identity. It's like when you really are like almost forced to really start thinking about your identity.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's hard.
Every single day. Yeah.
Yes. It eases up a little bit in high school. Not that high school is easy, but it's a little bit different kind of, I don't know, maybe, I don't know what it is, but middle school is very hard.
Sorry, kids.
One thing we've heard a lot is like modeling behavior, right? Like the importance of modeling, the behavior you want to see in others, in your children or your students. But like gosh, it is hard, to Giselle's email, to be yourself or to stand up for things that that you like that are different. So, in some ways it's like, Mo is like our little like shining symbol. Like, may we all be more like Mo and have the courage that he has to kind of get up there and say what he did, because we're not all there, even as adults, there's times where we feel the pressure to sort of conform or to not say something because it's not what other people are expecting of you. So I think that, he's inspiring to us too, so. Yeah.
Well, I want to call out our son because he really inspires us in that way too, because, I mean, it's one thing to say it, but it is hard, as a parent, it's hard when your kid does something that may be perceived as different. You kind of go, oh, good. Okay. And when he was, he still does this, but when he was younger, he wore like a costume every day. at first it was like a cape, but then it just kind of built from there. And he went through a Phantom of the Opera phase where he loved Phantom of the Opera.
Really?
I mean, I love it. You know, I mean, he loved the songs. He loved everything about it. And it makes sense. It's creepy. It's, you know, it's like music. It's theatrical. So he wore this Phantom of the Opera costume like every day. And one day he was going to the park and he was wearing it. And I was just like, oh gosh, you know, these kids are going to make fun of him. And so I have the pictures. It was so cute. And I was like, do you know, I just want you to know that I think that kids might say something to you. If you're okay with that, I'm okay with it. I just want you to know. And he just was like, Mom, if they don't get it, I don't care. I love my costume. I'm going to wear it. And he did. And there was a kid that made fun of him. And he was just like, have you seen the play?
Right? Obviously, you are not cultured enough.
You're not educated to say that.
Was that the one where he came back and it was like, how did it go? Kind of, he was like, oh yeah, it was fine. Like so-and-so was Christine and I got so-and-so to be.
Nice.
He basically did their whole thing and like told them about the play and then they were all in it, you know, and I was just like, wow, okay. That's amazing. So I think it was a hard moment for me to let him go and do that, but then to watch him be himself was like amazing. So
everybody grew that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is difficult, you know, as parents, just because, you know, you feel like your children are a representation of you. But, you know, I mean, and in some way, yes, I mean, like, obviously, but I mean, if they're not being like ugly people to other people, you know, I mean, it's like, I've seen, you know, I mean, my daughter is far more outgoing than I am. And you know, like if I go to the grocery store, like you know, this whole like quarantine and mask thing like hasn't been a problem for me because I'm like, oh, I'm invisible, you know, like I have a mask on, therefore nobody can see me, you know. And so I'm just walking around the grocery store, but she is that person that will find somebody at the grocery store that like isn't the one that you would talk to, the one who probably like looks like how I'm dressed right now. And, you know, with like tattoos and piercings. And like, she calls out that person and is like, your hair is beautiful, or I love your nails. And she has always done that. Like from a baby, like, I mean, she was constantly talking to people when I'm like, shh, you know, like, but you know, she's bringing joy. I see her lighting up these people. Like she's bringing joy to these people. And if I was to like silence her from that, like that, I'm silencing that kind of gift in her. And so, you know, whether you're wearing a costume to the park or like speaking to like complete strangers, as long as it's not, you know, stranger danger, but like, you know, I mean, like that, those are the kind of things that when you do get to junior high and you are met with this, like, what's your identity and where do you stand and all that kind of stuff, like you're able to be like, I know who I am. Like, this is who I've been like my whole life. And no one's tried to squash that. And I'm going to love you for who you are. And I'm going to love you for who you are. And, you know what I mean? Like that's the best thing we can do as parents, because I mean, we can't protect them and they will go off to college and
in a blink of an eye
leave our nest.
My eldest is going to be 23. She's my stepdaughter, but I met her when she was 13 and literally it was just yesterday. And so,
that must be crazy to.
Yeah, we have a very large range, obviously. Aislinn that you saw, she just turned 5. So, yeah, but it just, you know, my husband warned me. He said it's going to go just like this. And I was like, but it's true. So hold on as much as you can, but also let go too.
Yes. And I have to appreciate those moments.
This is an instruction booklet for parents rather than a picture book.
Yeah, no, it is a good book for parents.
I'm glad you think so.
It taught us a little bit.
The kids are like, oh, cool, look, zombies.
And we're just like,
yes,
I didn't do that. I need to do that.
Well, I mean, not that we were like, let's create a guidebook for parents, but but like at one point we're like, well, what, you know, the book ends with like, you know, they accept each other because they're a family. And we were like, well, what happens when a child reads it that is in a non-accepting family? because of course there are many of those. And sometimes a kid is going to be different in whatever way they're different, and they're going to tell their parents, and the parents are going to completely shut them down. Not that this book is like an answer to that, but it was a hope that maybe if a parent was reading it with their kid, go, oh, you know, maybe I'm not handling this the right way. Maybe I'm not, maybe I need to look at myself a little bit more. And we actually have had a few people say things like that, like I didn't really look at it in this way. And because it is silly and zombies and weird food and, the mom's head pops off, it kind of opens you up in a way that something that's very didactic and like, this is how you should parent, it gets through in a little bit different way. So we're happy about that.
There was a really interesting moment. Yeah, yes. There was a really interesting moment. I'll just add that my aunt is a reporter, a news reporter in Colombia, and so she did a reading. She played the reading of the Spanish version over the air, and then she surprised us, and she had a psychologist come on the air, and he proceeded to give this like amazing in-depth analysis of the book that touched on all the stuff that we didn't even know was in there, and then he tied it somehow to.
Like,
he tied it into, like, oh yeah, of course, absolutely, yeah. That great thing was he tied it into society and how he's like, if we could all sort of take an example of the parents, how like we could bridge those gaps and differences with other people and sort of see that, there is common ground. And as long as it's done with like a mindfulness and openness, that you can find that. And I was like, that was so cool. That was something that was awesome. That was really special.
Which is very important in our world right now.
Especially right now.
Like, no wonder you guys are up for so many awards, because it's like,
it's a beautiful message and such a.
Let's take note from a child's picture book. We'll send it to the White House and have them do a rating on the law.
Well, cool. Kind of tell us how your process is. Being a husband and wife team and co-author, like how do you point A to point Z? How do you get from here to there?
Okay, do you want me to answer that? Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not a very organized system. Back to that organized thing. It's very flowy. So it's not like this is how we start and this is how we get to the end. For zombies, for example, it did start with, I had this idea for, I wanted to do a zombie book. You were on board. Then I got the idea for a character that didn't want to be a zombie. And it was less focused on food in the beginning. It was just about what happens if somebody becomes a zombie and they are conscious enough to be like, I don't want this. And they can't do anything about it. And it kind of went from there. And you started drawing, doing a bunch of character designs. And it was really focused on Mo. I think he had a different name at the time.
He may have had a different name. Yeah, I forget. But I started doing a bunch of sketches and drawings. And then I think at the same time, the text evolved because originally it was rhyming. And it was like, I think we had there was like points in it that were hinting at the book that it would become, particularly, the idea. I think that's at that stage that we hit on the idea that he was different from his parents. Cause then it was like, oh, all the other zombies are doing zombie stuff and he's different. He's like hanging out at home, doesn't like crowds, doesn't like shuffling in crowds. It doesn't like, moaning at night, that kind of thing. Anyway.
Yes. Oh, what do you want me to say?
Oh, no. And then I think after that, what happened was we went through like a number of cycles with the drafts. And what happens is that like Megan will start a draft, because I think it's important to say that like, even though we are co-authors and co-creators, like Megan is the owner of the text at the end of the day. So we have sort of like defined roles that we are really clear about. Like I may have a ton of story ideas. I may even do a bunch of writing towards it or come up with a bunch of paragraphs or pages, but it's up to Megan to decide how she wants to integrate it and use it into the actual text, and she owns the final document. I think that helps because that way we don't have two parallel things that have that are in conflict, or we don't know who has the final version or whatever. Right. But then vice versa, when it comes to the drawing and the art side, once Megan was done with the manuscript, what I did was that I went ahead and started doing the dummy, and then it actually started evolving in the dummy
Do you know what
form.
a dummy is?
Yeah, like the
Pre.
yeah.
The pre to the pre. What is
Right.
a
So
dummy?
a dummy
Educate
is like
our people.
yeah, absolutely. So a dummy is like a if it's particularly it's a term used for picture books, and what it is it represents the book in its most basic form. So it's just sketches usually with the text either written by hand or cut out and pasted, so that you can actually like flip it like an actual book, but it's very crude. Typically, I've done ones that are like super tiny. Just so that I can quickly get an idea of page turns. In this case, we did one that was was actually super elaborate.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get my hands on it, and I was kind of eager to hold the book in my hand, so I bound it,
Nice.
and it was kind of crazy. It was nuts. But before we got to that point, we did a bunch of revisions on the art side, and then I'd say one thing that is common is that with us is that I'll do the drawing and I'll drop in the text and I'll say that's too much text, like. I feel like that's too much text. And then we get into a big, huge knockdown, drag out fight over that. There is back and forth. We negotiate like, oh, well, how half of that? And then I have to find a way to figure it out for layout on the page and stuff like that. And then so then at the end of that process, we end up with a dummy and then the finished manuscript, which is what we submitted to our agent.
Yes. I guess the one point I'll say is that because we worked together in a creative environment before, like we were in a relationship or working on our own projects, we're really big on creative disagreement. Is a big part of our process.
I like the term.
Yeah, we have that. We have that.
It's really important. I don't know if you've ever read anything about Pixar or the Pixar creative process, but it's a big part of the Pixar creative process. Like there has to be healthy arguments, where you're basically defending your ideas or, putting your ideas and basically, is this right? Is this not right? Like poking as many holes in them as you can. So we're used to doing that in a professional environment where we had to pitch ideas or we had to have other people, weighing in on them all the time. So like we got really good over the years at like doing that to our own work without, hurting each other's feelings. Not that it never happens, but
it happens.
It happens. It does happen sometimes. Like, oh, I'll be so excited about something. Right? Like you do something and, and Christy's like, no, I don't like it. Or, or
Yeah.
that's not right, and it's something you felt like was perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been
Yeah, I made the mistake one time. I'll probably, hold it forever, as a story, but like, I called her writing fluffy. That I said, I had to get rid of it. It was too fluffy. And she's like, fluffy? And I'm like,
she meant prosy.
Right. I just spelled it as fluffy. I'm like, I said it just didn't work. But one thing, and I'm sure you guys have to do this too, like, I mean, it's good that you define, your roles, with us, that we have the same role. It's like, I have to trust that, and she trusts that both of us, we want the best story. So like whatever is going to make the best story. And if I don't feel something, is like, this is the correct terminology, this is the correct sentencing, or this is the correct, and she has to trust that I can delete it without like permission. And, and that's hard for me sometimes. I'm like, I highlighted this part. I'm like, I don't think, and she's like, if you don't like it, just delete it. And I'm like, but it's your words, like, but you have to have the same end goal in mind to be like, we want to present the best story. We both know that we're both gifted in this. And so we're going to trust each other in that. And I think that's the only way to work together with somebody.
I think that's an important message for the people who are going to watch this. Most are probably single authors, but so many times there's that control factor, and they can't let go of certain things, and it's just not working in a story. Like your character's not going anywhere, your plot's a little flat, whatever. They're not listening to beta readers or whatever. I think that's a very important message for people who are just getting started or have been in it, is to just for lack of a better term with Elsa, just to let it go and trust that it's for the betterment of the book. So I think that's, thank you.
Yeah, there's two. I think there's two quotes that stick to my mind, or two things, 2 points. One is that, like Megan said, because we worked together in before, like we know that, like, it's the, like you said it perfectly, it's the product, it's the end result.
Yes.
And there's no ego involved, because it's like, if that thing is, it's up to you to check your ego, because it's like, we're trying to make the best possible thing possible. And if you are feeling weird about it, it's probably because it's you and not the thing, right? It's that thing is getting better thanks to the feedback. And then the other one is, there's a quote from Neil Gaiman where he talks about how it's really important to get other perspective, other people's opinions, and listen to them when they tell you that something is wrong, but feel free to take or leave their suggestions for how to fix it, because you need to figure out how to fix it, because you're the expert on your book, not them. But if they're telling you something's up with a voice or a chapter or something, listen to it and then kind of take a closer look.
Yeah, that's true. Well, do we want to read a few more letters?
Yes, those are amazing.
Here. There's one that I'm actually interested to find out the answer. Okay, my name is George. I am in the 5th grade at Saboteur Middle School this year. I really like the book Zombies Don't Eat Veggies. I will tell you the reasons why I like the book below. What I thought about your story is that it shows kindness and love, because at the end they accepted Mo for who he is. I saw the story in the point of view of a humane family. What I liked about the story is that Mo wasn't afraid to try something new. I also enjoyed it when Mo didn't give up and kept trying. I was happy that Mo's parents accepted him for who he was. My question is, why are the characters zombies, and what was the reason behind it? George.
Love George.
What an awesome letter.
These all your
4-paragraph.
Yeah, you did so good.
Nice.
You have an amazing class.
I do. I cannot ask for a better year. We have kids.
I mean,
go ahead. But and we have talked about that. I am going to play this for them so that they can see their letters being read and see who got on the final broadcast, because they've been asking me for about a month, who's going to be the letter. So I said it was all a big surprise. But that one is George's. And this next one is from Caden. And I think this is the one. I thought the story was entertaining. I liked that the story was different other than zombie stories, because it's not just about being the scariest monster. What made you all want to make this story? And you've said that too. So we've answered all these questions, but I wanted to make sure that they heard their letters. But if you want to touch a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so. One thing in George's, he asked about why zombies, right? Like why we did.
Yes. What was the reason behind it?
The reason behind it. So I think there's the spooky sort of thing in general, but I think one thing that's interesting about zombies is that they're people, right? At the end of the day, they're sort of just like undead people. And I think that for me, it was really a cool opportunity to do a story. As the story evolved and I got really excited, I think was when we started incorporating the Spanish, because then it was like, oh, we can make it like a family like ours. It could be, and it just is like anyone can be a zombie. You know, it's like anyone can be part of the spooky, weird, creepy world that we live in. And I think that was one of the reasons that we chose zombies as opposed to like vampires or something. I just felt like it rolled right into it, and it was really cool. Yeah, and they're fun to draw, by the way.
Yeah,
zombies are incredibly fun.
So with the next book that you have, is it still along the are you guys going to stay in the monster route? Like this is where we're going to, kind of your niche is.
Is that your brand?
Yeah. Monstery.
I don't think that's the only kind of books we'll ever do, but yes, we really like them. And yes, so the second book, I guess we can't really say much about it. I hope we can. Right now it's supposed to come out fall 2022, like right around Halloween. So there's still a bit of time. So I'll have to get back to you on more, but it does have a monster. but it's kind of inspired by our love of 80s movies.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I see
And
where
those
you're
like
going.
not that there's no movies like that anymore, but we love those movies where like kids actually are in control of their own adventure.
Mhm.
You know, like Goonies and
Yeah.
There's no
yeah.
choices.
Yeah.
We went and used our own
When kids
imaginations.
played, yeah.
Yes. So it's a little bit with that with a monster.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll never say no to drawing monsters, right? Like they're the best. So yeah, I actually have I've been illustrating other books that are not monster related, but
You should, because you can tell them about that EXO.
okay, so I illustrated a book called Exoplanets, written by Deborah Underwood, and it's really super cool. I'm so happy with the way that turned out. It's a beautiful story by Deborah, and it's about the planets of the solar system. So I got to do illustrate the planets in really unique, weird ways.
It comes out next fall.
Yeah, next fall.
Nice.
Well, I know science teaches the solar system, so I'll be sure to give that to my science teacher counterpart when it comes out next year.
Yeah, it's about the planets of our solar system discover there's an exoplanet, and they start exchanging letters, and things get a little weird.
Fun.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Megan, since you're the words lady, the writer, like have you always leaned towards like children's books, or have you wanted to write young adult, middle grade, I mean, like in your own kind of personal writing?
Yes. So I'm actually very focused on writing a middle grade right now. So he's working on the second book. He's really working on the illustrations for that, as well as another book. And so I've been working on my own projects while he's really focused on that. And I'm working on a middle grade that I'm very excited about.
It's really good.
I hope you're right. We were talking earlier, it's like you write something and you feel good about it, and the next day I'm like, ooh, no.
Yeah.
Not good. But then I also started a adult sort of sci-fi book that I'm interested in. So I would say, like, we worked in kids entertainment. I would say that world is very important to me, because I just really feel like you actually have the opportunity to shift someone's mind when they're a kid. It's a lot harder as an adult. Not that it doesn't happen, but you can have books had a huge effect on me. Movies had a huge effect on me when I was a kid. And so I just, I think about those stories and how they made me feel. And if I could, make kids feel good in some way or help them see something in a new way, like that's, to me, is like the most magical thing. So I do like writing for everybody. I absolutely do. But I think something very special about kids.
Yes, very true.
And is your agent just for you guys with the picture books, or is he also behind you with the middle grade and all that kind of stuff? Good. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, John Cusick is our agent at Folio Lit.
Yes, I know. I don't know him.
I did hear him speak at a conference a few years back. He's so cool.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, John is super cool, and he's super supportive. And no, he supports us on all our projects. So right now, as Megan said, we're working on the second book for Lee and Lo, at least I am. And then Megan's working on the middle grade, and he's been really supportive of all of our creative output. So it's not just one or the other.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I will say, because you are both primarily working on YA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I think he primarily works on. I think YA is probably his sweet spot. He really reps.
Is it? He's an author as well, I believe. He wrote. Yes.
He had a book come out.
Dimension Y.
Yes, John. Dimension Y. And I haven't finished it yet, but we've started it, and it's really funny. It's like this really funny middle grade time travel, kind of like it's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah,
sort of.
Okay.
Well,
maybe we should interview him.
You put in a good word.
Maybe we
talk about this book of his.
Put in a good word.
Yes, he's a great writer and a great agent, so he would be a great guest.
We have wanted to have an agent on here just to get, I mean, gosh,
Yeah.
there's so much mystery behind them.
That curtain.
So much mystery.
The wizard behind the curtain. So yeah, I think that's going to be our next go is to try to get an agent so readers and authors can hear from, from a different perspective other than writers.
He would be great.
Well, thank you so much, you guys, for coming on and spending your Halloween morning with us. We have had so much fun being zombies.
Yes.
And eating
amazing.
finger
Your costumes
foods.
are great. I don't think I mentioned that before. You guys look amazing.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, you really do. You and all of your the trailer and the setup and everything. It's so fun and just so well done. It's like a professional show. I mean, you are a professional.
I work real hard on
There it goes. Our last.
I mean that really it's like really cool. Very impressive. And I also just want to make a point to you as a teacher that your students would write those kinds of letters and be comfortable with you reading them. That's really amazing. So you must be having a very big effect on them. And your daughters are awesome. So you are doing a lot of things right. So
thank you so much for having us.
Yes,
Thank you.
Please do say hello to your son, and I hope you guys have a wonderful time together tonight. And
fun Halloweens.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy writing.
Happy Halloween.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
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 Well, that was amazing.
Love them. They are such a cool husband-wife team that they can create something as beautiful as this together and send it out into the world. Kudos to them. They deserve every single accolade that they are currently getting. And my students love it. They still talk about it. They want to watch it every single week. And our daughters as well.
Yes. And we will be making more of the recipes in the back. It's super fun because, my daughter's not a big veggie lover. So we're going to try these things. We're going to.
And my daughter, she'll eat peanut butter on everything. So we're going to do it.
Yeah, we're going to eat some fun fingers here. Super yummy. But thank you guys for watching, and please get this book. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. It's got, as you heard, there's many, many messages in it. Next month, we have a Hallmark Christmas author. Her name is
Janice Lynn.
Where
your book is in your reading nook, of course.
I am reading it. Her first, I got the first one right here.
Oh, sorry.
So here's the first one. It was wrapped up in Christmas. The one that just came out is wrapped up in Christmas joy. So
the Hallmark logo.
Yes, we have Hallmark here, and it's everything you want in a Christmas book. It's very, very fun, and if you love Christmas and love little small Christmas towns,
and you set your schedules for the Hallmark Christmas movies, this is definitely the book
I do.
for you.
In fact, I have on my little wall over there the new Christmas movie countdowns. So we will be talking with her the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So be looking for that. And also, please subscribe to our page. We are, we love to be able to do these stories with you guys and let you know.
See it actually get the stories from the authors themselves. They were once exactly like all of us. Mm-hmm. No agent, just writing and trying to get their story out there, and then here they are today. So thank you for supporting and listening, and we continue to do that for 2020 is almost over. So 2021 is going to be an even more exciting year. So thank you.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful, happy, and safe Halloween, and dress up in a costume because
it's fun.
It's fun. You can be inside. You can be inside and not have to have a mask on. It's amazing. So, happy Halloween, everybody, and thanks for watching.
Happy Halloween.
Bye.